Okay, so this question is basically the same as the previous question in the previous video, but the reason why I want to do this again is because it was a little bit challenging, but hopefully now with more practice it should be pretty easy. So in order to help us, I have 7 steps. If you follow these steps, then you should be okay with this type of question. So it's saying here, 3 people shared in the lottery win in the ratio 9 to 8 to 6. If the smaller share had 18,000, what was the total prize money and the other 2 shares? Now step 1 is saying for us to add the parts of the ratio. So 9 plus 8 plus 6 is 23. Okay, so step 1 is done. Step 2 is saying put the total parts as the denominator. So let's go ahead and do that. So now 23 is the denominator. So step 2 is done. Step 3, put the individual part as the numerator. So what's the individual part? The individual part is referring to the smaller share. So you have to read the question very carefully. It may say the middle share or the larger share or whatever it is. That part that gives us an amount, that's the individual part that we want to put in there. So the individual part is referring to the number 6 because the number 6 is the smaller share. So we write down as the numerator number 6. Okay, so now step 3 is done. Step 4 is saying simplify if you can. We can't simplify this because 23 is a prime number. The only numbers that go into 23 is the number 1 and 23, so we can't do it. So we have looked at step 4, so step 4 is done. Step 5 is saying divide prize money share by the numerator. So what does this mean? Prize money share is the prize money for that specific share. So 18,000 is the smaller share, the number 6 here. So it says divide prize money share, the 18,000, by the numerator, the number 6. So we write down 18,000 and we divide it by the number 6. Now you may be asking, why do we do this? Why do we divide the prize money share by the numerator? So just to demonstrate why we do that, I'm going to draw a grid, and hopefully this will make more sense. Okay, so we should have here 4, 8, 12, 15, 20, 23. We've got 23 squares here. So these 23 squares represent the number 23 here, the denominator. Okay, so now I'm going to shade the numerator, which is number 6. Remember, the numerator is a portion of the whole. So this is the whole, that's why 23 is the denominator. And I'm going to just highlight 6 squares. 5, 6. Okay, so if you look at this picture, to write this as a fraction, we have 6 over 23. Now, these 6 squares here, these 6 squares are actually worth 18,000. Okay, So we want to find out what one of these squares is worth. So we want to find out just one. So if we find out just one of these squares, and I'll highlight just one in blue, if we find out what one square is worth, then that means in order for us to find out the total prize money, because right now all we know is that these 6 squares is 18,000. But if we find out what just one square is worth, all we have to do then is times it or multiply it by the number 23, which is the whole. If we multiply what this one part is worth by the whole, we get the total prize money. So this is why we divide. This is why we get we divide the prize money share by the numerator. So this is what we're doing now. Okay, so 18,000 divided by 6 is 3,000. Okay, so now we've actually done step 5, and now we go on to step 6, which is what I just explained. Multiply result, which is the 3,000, by denominator, which is the number 23, to find total prize money. So let's go ahead and do that. So the result is 3,000. And we multiply that by the denominator, which is 23, and we know why. I just explained it. I explained it over here. Okay, so when we multiply the 3,000 by 23, we get the number $69,000. So now we've found the total prize money. So we're halfway there. The rest is pretty easy. All we have to do now, so let's actually tick step 6. So step 6 is done. Now all we have to do is multiply fractions by total prize money to find individual share amounts. What this is basically referring to is it's saying that this ratio here, we know what 6 is. We know that that's 18,000. But we don't know yet what these other individual parts of the ratio are. We don't know. So this is what we want to find out. So what we have to do is we have to do what it says here. So we have to multiply fractions. So this number 6, this was actually this one over here. Now, to make this into a fraction, all we have to do is 8 over 23 multiplied by the total prize money, which is what it says here, which is 69,000, and that will equal $24,000. And then we do the same for the other one. So we get 9 over 23 multiplied by 69,000, and we get 27,000. You can use a calculator, by the way, for this type of question. So there we have it. So we've found, so let's tick the last step, we've done that. So we've found the total prize money, and we found the individual shares. So we already know that the smaller share is 18,000, and now we've found the other two. We found this part of the ratio and that part of the ratio. So that's pretty much it. Again, if you follow these steps, you should be okay. I just should mention though, one thing I forgot which was this 3000 here. This 3000 is the individual square, the blue square. So that's why we multiplied 23 by 3000, because 3000 is the individual square. Again, that's why we divide. This part here is probably the most challenging part, but if you understand this part here, then the rest is pretty easy. So just to prove that you guys understand the question, this type of question, I have another one for you. So what you can do is work this one out, and we can discuss your answer in class.